I was watching a Brene Brown TED Talk very recently, and she said something at the very beginning of it. If you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. I'm going to say it again. If you cannot measure something, it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. It wasn't worth measuring. That was my paraphrase. Sorry, Brene. So today we're going to chat about the things that slow us down, the things that build roadblocks in our creative journey, in our creative process. We're going to talk about the things that keep the blank page blank. Okay, this isn't terribly blank, but blank. We're going to talk about the things that keep the blank page blank. And I want to talk about it because I don't want your blank page to be blank. So I am going to paint today. Does anybody have any requests, like legitimately? Because I'm just going to paint what you want to see. And I'm going to do that without much instruction. I'll be up front as I chat. So let me know if there's anything you'd really like to see. I've been painting with a mix of Sisters Ink, my palette, and Daniel Smith for the last couple of weeks, and I've really been enjoying the combination. Kumquats. Yes, I can paint my kumquats. I'm going to paint my kumquats. That one spoke to me. I think I might have just gotten paint on my face. Dead bouquet in a trash bin. Maybe I do need to do a trash bin. I'm going to do that first. And then I'll do the kumquats. All right. We need to get us like I need to just get in the corners of my palette up here. Get us a good scummy, trashy color. And I'm going to paint a trash bin. Because y'all, I think this is going to turn into a sticker. I think this is going to, I need to look at a picture of a silver trash bin. I'm just sketching kind of with the tip of my 1/2-inch dagger. All right. I want to, in all seriousness, I want to put a disclaimer on this chat. So there was some content made recently by an artist that I actually really respect. And I still respect this artist. But some of the thoughts shared I found problematic. And I don't doubt that this artist, looking back, perhaps would also see some of the problematic kind of tendencies in the message that was delivered. And so I realize fully that it's certainly probably going to come out that I am commenting on this particular creator's video. I am happy to have a chat. I would love for her to come live. I would love to paint with this artist. I have no ill will whatsoever, but I do feel a responsibility to my corner of the art community and anyone else that may stumble upon this community, that may stumble upon this content. I feel a responsibility to deliver a counter idea, a counter thought, to deliver some respite from the stress, from the feelings of shame that could result from watching said content. And that's why I'm here. We all say things we regret. We all say things out of frustration. We all create a platform, a narrative that seems very well thought out because we might be feeling a lot of feels. So again, I don't want this to come across as an attack, but I also feel that as a creator who has a large audience, who has any audience, but especially when you're speaking to a lot of people that trust you, you are putting those words out there and you need to be responsible for them. I've been called on my words. So, yeah. There's always been this idea floating around the art community when I was growing up, it was kind of considered high art. There were high artists creating high art, right? The exhibiting artists, the artists that had their work in galleries, the artists that were making thousands of dollars. I think of Basquiat, okay? Sketches, if you could put the spelling of Basquiat in the comment section, that would be fantastic. Because if you have not researched this artist, please do. Basquiat was a street artist. He would go in, you know, he literally, I believe this was Basquiat, but Keith Haring too, you know, would paint on trash cans in subways and on the city streets, and make his mark in very primitive strokes, but also very mindful strokes, but in the streets, right? On trash cans, right? And then Basquiat, he was in New York City in that time, and he networked, and he got chummy rubbing elbows with the Warhol, right? And all of a sudden, he's in the galleries. He's the high artist. So at what point did Basquiat go from a trash bin artist to the real deal? At what point? Okay? Brooklyn boys did the thing. They were doing the thing even when nobody said it was art. That's what I'm here to tell you. The thing you're doing, you're not allowed to just wait for somebody to tell you you're an artist. You're doing it, you're an artist. And I go back to that thing I said in the beginning. If you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. And I will take it further. So if you cannot measure the value of art or the fine artedness of art or the highness of the art, does it even matter that it's a craft, that it's a fine art composition? Does it matter? And I say no. No. I am not here to uphold the, you know, somebody standing in front of a Kandinsky, let's say, abstract, and saying, oh, I could have painted that. Pay me $1 million. No, I am not uplifting that kind of attitude, because there does come a price tag with years of experience. You're not paying for that piece and the time it just took to do that piece out of context, right? You're paying for years of experience and so on and so forth. So please don't be mistaken. But if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist and it doesn't matter. And the doesn't matter part is me. That is my contribution to this narrative, to that quote that Brene Brown heard from one of her professors when she started doing all of this studying and research about vulnerability, about shame, and what the intersection of vulnerability and shame when it comes to feeling welcome, when it comes to feeling like you belong. No, you don't need to be selling your art or showing your art to be an artist. Abso-freaking-lutely not. I mean, I think it's that simple. I don't have to give a dissertation on why. I think it's that simple. I have people all the time say to me, you know, I've been painting for a few months and I'm not an artist yet. Well, where is there the rubric of what you need to do to be an artist? There isn't one. I'm confident in saying, friends, there isn't one. So the minute you touch down with the intent to express yourself with your hand, your foot, your mouth, on paper, with a tool, you're an artist. I'm here to give you all the permission, all of the naming permission that you need, y'all. And as far as I'm concerned, the only trash bin artists that exist in our world are those painting them or on them. And I know this conversation will be met with pushback to the tune of there has to be rules. There has to be a rubric. There has to be, I mean, I think back to the movie Mona Lisa Smile, Julia Roberts and all of those, you know, fantastic actors. I mean, who wasn't Maggie Gyllenhaal and not Claire Danes. You know, everybody was in that movie. And I think back to the day that Julia Roberts' character comes back into the classroom after the day that she got pummeled, the first day she got pummeled by all the fancy gals, telling her what quantifies good art that is worthy. She came back in that classroom and shut it down. Jazz, you can't keep creative expression. If you are willing and vulnerable enough to put brush to paper, my friend, hear me, you're an artist. And what you're doing is just as welcome and just as meaningful to me and to a lot of people as anything Basquiat did. I know, big statement. I know. You create, therefore you're an artist. See, I really try to lead with love, right? I live by love. I live by, and how do I show love? Inclusion, empathy, compassion. I don't lead with a mind of profit or a mind of commercialism. I mean, trust me, we all have those hiccups and tendencies. We like stuff. We like to buy. We like to consume. But ultimately, the way I want to live my life, and I think it's a lot of what Brene Brown is talking about, is I want to make sure that I take a stance of inclusion in a lot of different places. Thrifty says, it took me a long time to stop saying I will be an artist one day. Art is expression that, like all other exclamations, cannot be measured in terms of I will be. Exactly. But again, I come back to that, if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. D says, making something that gives you joy makes you an artist. I'm paraphrasing for you, D. The cherry on top is when you give it to another and it brings them joy. There's no monetary amount for that pleasure. Like, yeah, you cannot make that a commodity. Commoditize, is that a word? You can't commoditize that joyful transaction. Let's face it, it is a transaction. You're giving joy, you're receiving joy, but you cannot put a price on that. Kathy says, I was shamed by groups on Facebook for the quality of my paper, paints, and brushes to the point that I was buying everything they suggested. It stole your joy, Kathy. I'm here. I'm here for you. This is that higher mentality that I struggle with. This is that, and let me give you some sound bites of what this may sound like. If you're a new artist, if you're just picking up the brush, this is what you may hear, and this is what I want for you. When you hear stuff like what I'm about to share, I want it to be a positive trigger, to remember my words. Here are my words. When that trigger happens, I want you to hear me. You are welcome. You're creating worthy art, and you have joy to give. Hear it. So it might sound like in a Facebook group, on a YouTube channel, in a tutorial, in a one-on-one class, it may sound like you only need 6 colors from Winsor & Newton Professional, and you should learn how to mix all of your colors. And if you can't learn that skill, then you will struggle tremendously throughout the rest of your process. It may sound like, Arches watercolor paper is the only thing you should be painting on. It is the pinnacle. Now, I have said the same thing, but that's my personal opinion. It may sound like you can't sell that artwork yet. It's not refined enough. You can't sell that artwork. It has fugitive paints in the composition. If you hear a voice inside of you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced. Thank you, Christine, for bringing us some Vincent. Thank you. Fugitive paint is a paint that can fade quicker in with UV light exposure. Dee says, you can't sell anything because you haven't painted long enough to be an artist. That's what it may sound like. I have a video on creative wounds, and we talk about this a lot. And so many of you shared your creative wounds, who delivered them to you, and what was said. So many of you. So share them now. What has someone said to you that made you feel like you weren't an artist yet? My 5-year-old could do your abstract paintings. Oh, classic. Classic bullpucky. Out. Thanks, Ray. It sounds like, oh, you were learning from YouTube? I went to art school. Oh, such a good one. Out. Ooh, it's only a hobby, right? Out. Ah. Handmade has no worth. Bite me. Nicole, that's interesting. And you know what you say to that? Thank you so much. Oh, you made my day. Throw it right back. Oh, you haven't had any professional training, right? Yeah, good one. Out. Oh, Kathy, when are you really going to paint something big? Never. I never paint big. Art is not a profession. Oh, my Lord in heaven, Jesus, take my wheel, because I go into schools. I've been going to my son's school now for 3 years and volunteering for junior leadership. And it's a really incredible program. I don't know if it's nationwide, but I go in, and it's a pre-done curriculum that I deliver, but I can deliver it with my own kind of spice. You know what I mean? And it's about communities, careers, businesses, and how community functions. I love the fact I am able to deliver a message every year that excites me more and more every year. And it is this. It is the best time to be alive and to be an artist and to actually make money. You can support your family as an artist. There has never been a better time. Take that to the bank. Ah, you're not using the right brand of watercolor. Yes, yes, yes. You can't make money. Oh, Letitia, they're so wrong. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm raking in the bank. I'm just saying I'm filling my retirement. I'm putting into retirement, and I'm not doing it through a corporate job. And I'm getting a paycheck, and we're putting away stuff for our kids' college education. I get to travel, all right? And I'm doing that because I'm an artist and figured out the stuff. So all you have to do is be willing to figure out the stuff. And it's the best time to be alive to be an artist. Friends, if you're having a good time, if you feel this message needs to be heard, I am getting so pumped. I hope it's not coming across as ego or anything. And if it is, I apologize. That's not my intention. But if you're enjoying this and you're getting something out of it, please share this. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but like this video. The best thing you can do for me, if you feel this message, like someone said earlier, needs to go viral, is to give this video a boop. Sketches says, I can't believe people are watching you on YouTube. You're an amateur artist. I'm surprised. Oh, let's camp here for a moment. Y'all know I'm a believer. I'm fully aware that that my faith is not everyone's faith. But this little bit, whether you're a believer or not, you can retranslate it, all right? But it's so powerful, and it speaks to what Sketches just shared. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. God doesn't call the qualified all the time. He qualifies the called. All right. What is an amateur artist? Yes. To become it, there is a rubric for the expert category, right? It's how many hours. I forget what the number is. There is a rubric for that. And I can buy into that. I can get down with that rubric. But can I also at the same time get down with this adjacent, this narrative that has been built out of that rubric, that you're not worthy of being listened to, you're not worthy of teaching, you're not worthy of? No, I can't. I also watch this is my guilty pleasure. I watch Sister Wives on TLC. Okay, let's talk about it. I hope I don't get a whole Sister Wives clan coming over here because I said it. But one of the it's a reality TV. One of the souls on this show, her name is Mary Brown, and she has gone through a lot. She's had a lot of anguish in her life, and she has walked away from her situation recently. And she started a kind of a group where she is charging money to help other people. She's not licensed. She's not a practitioner of any kind. However, and she's getting a lot of flack for doing this, for charging people in a self-help environment. And I know that this is that kind of thing across all genres can be a slippery slope. But I'm here to say we need to give folks, amateurs, beginners, all of that, we need to give them a chance, because sometimes you are called to deliver a message that the world may not think you're qualified to deliver, but you are, because of your experiences, your lived experience, period. I mean, I know I'm a rule breaker, and I guess I have problems with these hard and fast rules about how this world functions. But I continue to go back to, whenever I'm confused, whenever I go back to lead with love. If you're leading with love, you're going to have more understanding. If you're leading with love, you're going to project less shame on other people with opinions. If you're leading with love, you're going to include others more. If you're leading with love. This is good. Sometimes I wince at people telling me what I post, that they love it, how I have improved, and it's a compliment. I didn't know there was a jury. I mean, of course we're going to improve. Of course we're going to build our skill set as we put in the time. But right, I didn't know there was a jury. I didn't know there was a jury. So, such an amazing point. Really profound. Thank you for sharing. Even if you don't make a penny, keep doing art. Sometimes filling the soul has nothing to do with commerce. Exactly. All right. See, the conversation here all boils down to me having a bit of a problem with a narrative that discourages vulnerability. That's my real problem with the content that I've been talking about. And again, I will not call out this person directly. I have a real my heart, literally, I grieve the type of narrative that discourages vulnerability. I know, and I'm not painting, I'm sorry. It's just kind of where it went. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When you are a content creator, when you have a platform, when you have people that trust you, I feel you have a huge responsibility to guard your words and to measure your words. And we're not always going to be able to guard or measure our words, so that when we do make a mistake, when we do say something that hits in a way we didn't intend, we speak to that, apologize, reiterate, whatever it may be. But this narrative of you're not good enough yet, you haven't put in your time, who are you to teach? Who are you to charge that much? Wow, I can really see so much improvement. Thank goodness. Exaggerate. When you continue to see that kind of narrative, you aren't a professional unless you're using professional paints, the good paper. This narrative is not new, and it discourages vulnerability in the receiving party. And our best work, our most powerful work, our most inspiring offerings that we have to give are born out of a deep vulnerability. Brene Brown. They are. It's when you're willing to take that leap into the unknown, into trying a new medium, into trying art in the first place, that the magic can happen, and often does. And that is vulnerability. And so if there are folks out there spreading a message that discourages vulnerability, I get really angry. But speaking out of love, I just want them to hear and understand better the power, the negative power their words can have, and give them an opportunity, whether it's publicly or privately, in their own soul, to shift. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. Gina says, I paint every day like it's my job. I'm retired and can use more income. But I'm so grateful God gave me the passion to create. We can all do it. Amen. You know that saying, there's a Jack for every Jill, or a Jill for every Jill, or a Jack for every Jack? Like, you know the saying. I feel the same way, and I've experienced that same understanding. The artwork that you're creating is for someone. Whatever skill level you're at, whatever medium you're using, whatever, it's for someone. I'm selling art on Palm Street that I guarantee a large amount of people in this world would say is sloppy. But it's being sold at a rapid pace. Like, I can't keep up with it. Not bragging, just proving a point. Right? I want to buy art because I love the person who made it. That's important too. Absolutely. You know, that brings such a powerful point. I think Christy Science, Christy Philosophy. Okay. Let me try to get this out. Think back, maybe you weren't alive at the time, but 80s, 90s. We didn't have the prevalence of, or at all, the cell phones, the computers, social media, the apps that we scroll on and just get us lost in the doom scroll, right? We were connecting more with humans on a one-to-one basis. It was so much easier to find connection, to have connection. You sat at a dinner table and you weren't all like this, right? We went out to dinner with friends and there were no distractions. We had conversation. So again, connection was easy to find. And so maybe that philosophy, that fine art, high art philosophy was built out of that, right? Because we were getting our connection elsewhere. And the the dabblers, if you will, weren't being seen as much. Basquiat wasn't an artist back then until he met certain people. Was it Julian Schnabel? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or if I got that name right. Andy Warhol, and on and on and on and on and on. Right? But now, as artists, we can document our entire journey on the internet, and people connect with it and they want to have a piece of it. And so all of the high art nonsense doesn't matter as much anymore. And those who still prescribe to that thinking are scared. They're worried. They don't feel as connected to what once worked, what once made sense. But that's not your problem. That message that comes out of that fear is not your problem. To this person that said it wasn't professional, if you didn't use XYZ, look up Mark English. Thank you. So back to why I'm here, the message that was put out there, and back to the Trashbin thing. There was and maybe I misunderstood this message, but there was, and if anybody, there are folks here that have been part of this discussion behind the scenes. If you would like to chime in, I will not call you out. If you would like to chime in, please do. But the message that was delivered is that there are amateurs on YouTube, for example, selling, swatching, just racking up, money, seemingly, that don't have the real talent behind it all. And what I heard in that is don't deserve the success. Now, I'm grateful that no specific artists were called out in this particular piece of content. I'm so grateful. No particular artists were called out. Thank you, Lord, because that would have been a whole thing. First time in my life I feel good and seen. It's here. Nessa, thank you for sharing that. I'm so grateful to hear that. Look at all the wonderful artists out there since Christy on YouTube and all. How many of us had not the opportunity to get a formal education to grow our talents? And now here we are. Thank you. And there are so many incredible folks teaching on YouTube. So many. And so many that don't have the education to back them up. Never went to art school. They were on a journey. They had a lived experience. Remember my sister wives metaphor. All right, we're back at it. Your lived experience counts. That degree on your wall matters less and less every day. My husband and I have talked about it. We are going to show our kids the opportunities in all different types of professions. We are not going to push traditional college because what we've experienced is it doesn't hold the value it once did. And those who still hold so tight to it and say what they say sometimes, again, is out of fear because they're losing grip on what they're comfortable with. They're losing grip on understanding how this world is changing and where they fit into it. And I get that is a hard thing to go through because our world is changing at a more rapid pace than we have ever experienced, ever. And if you're not willing to keep a fresh mind about it, keep a fresh heart about it, an open heart about it, you will get scared and you will potentially say things that make others feel disconnected and shameful. That's right. Back to my message before on this piece of content. You know, that there was this table set for this metaphorical table set where this type of content where you're just reviewing products or swatching out colors, or you're just selling your own products and you don't have the goods seeming, the education experience, the gallery exhibits to back up that just supposedly negates all of that you've done here on YouTube. And I'm here to say, hell no. No, it doesn't. It's just as simple as flipping it as that. No, it doesn't. Melissa said it. If you are successful, whether that success means you are profitable or you are building a large community, you're doing it because you're doing something that's resonating with an audience. And that makes it good and just and right. Let me give a message to, and I'm sure someone's going to think I'm ill qualified, but I want to give a message to the folks that are scared. Maybe your YouTube ad dollars are not what they've been, not what they were in not what they were in 2019 or 2020. And you were relying on that for income. And the YouTube scape has become so much more competitive since then, in addition to folks just getting back to life since then. And you were relying on those ad dollars. I get it. My ad income is way different now than it was in 2021, even when I first brought back my channel out of hibernation. Let the fear funnel into action, not bitter messages that could harm other budding artists, that could harm other professional artists, that could harm other exhibiting artists. Funnel your fear into something positive. Make a change. Roll with the tide. Evolve. Don't stay in the bitter barn. And I help people every day for free. I consult with people almost every day about how to make money as an artist, and I don't charge for it. Reach out to me. Ask me how. I will help you. I don't have all the answers, and in a year from now, I may be the one who's scared. But right now, I'm here for you. Feel like I have to watch this back anytime that you're a trash bin artist polluting YouTube. What value do you bring? Questions rise. Yeah. And that was essentially the message. The words, unfortunately, the words trash bin artists were used. And I am calling out that piece specifically, knowing full well you're going to most likely be able to find this content, because that phrase, in my opinion, I believe if any of my community members ran across that video and heard that phrase used in the context it was used, it could be extremely detrimental. So friends, just know the only trash bin artists are the ones painting the trash bins in a city, in wherever, or the ones painting one on paper. There are no unworthy artists. My goodness, the bravery it takes for the love. Anybody want to share the bravery it takes? Bravery it takes to put a stroke for the first time on that blank paper. Trash bin? You should have a hallelujah choir singing for you when you actually get up the nerve to do that. This is Their serious art wasn't getting the same attention as the swatchers' art supply buying trash bin artists. Yeah. Yes. Trash bin drum music is awesome. Actually, there's a group at my church that does really cool stuff different times throughout the year. The drummers get together and do really cool, like a drum line with the trash bins. Yeah. And the like the Home Depot buckets too. I love this Goldie. It doesn't matter to me how advanced the artist is. I watch artists on YouTube because of how they teach or how their personalities are. A lot of amazingly talented artists are pretentious or have a BA. You know, I've been running into it. I mean, I've been on YouTube since, in some way or another, since 2011, I think. And I've been running into this high art mentality for a very long time. It is so it's just so depleting. I run into it on my channel. God forbid I put up something about color theory, or that's why I came up with the whole Christie science bit, just to kind of like take the pressure off. Yeah, I know I don't have some degree in color theory, but I've got a working knowledge of it, and I'm going to teach you it. Thanks, pal. All right, now I need to pull myself out of the bitter barn. Yeah. I'm going to paint. Have you ever seen, there is a florist, I forget the name. If anybody wants to look it up for me, there is a florist, I believe it started in New York City, that was doing these really cool like drops. I think it's the best way for me to describe it. They would just come in overnight and they would fill trash bins with flowers, the most gorgeous floral arrangements that you could imagine. Let me see if I can find one really quick. So I kind of want you to think of this. Lewis Miller. Yeah. I kind of want you to think of this every time someone says something stupid to you. Every time you think you're not good enough, worthy enough to show your art on Instagram, to sell your art on Palm Street, to teach your lived, beautiful, artful experience. Every time you hear something, see something, I want you to think of this trash bin full of flowers. I want you to remember that you are indeed called to do this thing that's been put on your heart. And you're gonna have to sit in the uncomfortableness of all the voices. You will. But what's waiting for you on so many other sides of so many comments and so much junk is so worth that discomfort. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. So I'm going to ask you today, I'd love for you to paint your own trash bin composition at some point within the next 48 hours. I would like you to paint your own trash bin full of whatever subject matter just gets you really excited to be alive, really excited to be part of this community. And when it's done, and dry and glorious. I want you to put it somewhere. Make copies of it if you have to, y'all, so you see it often. As a reminder, let it be a trigger. I gave you my voice as a trigger. I hope you hear my voice when you need it. But I want you to have a visual trigger as well. Okay? Brene Brown talks about worthiness. Worthiness. And how if we feel disconnected from a community, we're not going to feel worthy. And I'm paraphrasing, to build as a contributing member of this community. And that to me is terrifying. And that to me is why certain messages out in Watercolorland are so troublesome. And we have to push back in our minds. We don't need to go track these people down and put nastiness in their comment section. No, please don't do that. But what we need to do is understand that we are connected. And you will always have a place here when you feel most disconnected. You will have a place with Thrifty. You will have a place with Sketches and Scrubs. If you're not already following them, please, the Thrifty Apprentice, Sketches and Scrubs here on YouTube, go get it. You will always have a place. Emma LaFave. You will always have a place and feel worthy and connected. Shout out some other channels, friends, where you feel worthy and connected. Please get to it. Sorry, I'm being bossy. Awesome, Deborah. And if you do find this content, friends, and you feel compelled to say something, I would much rather, I'm just going to encourage you, that when we as humans say things that are hurtful, it's out of pain usually, it's out of fear, it's out of frustration. So whatever your comment is or isn't, let it be fueled by that knowledge. So we are Trashbin artists. Trashbin artists unite. Trashbin artists unite. With Keith Haring, you have a legacy. You have a legacy behind your tentative brushstrokes. I just think about Basquiat. There's a legacy of street artists, Trashbin artists, if you will, who created for no other reason than to express. They had something in them. They had a struggle. They had discomfort. They had a voice that they couldn't figure out how it could be heard in any other way. So they took to the streets with the most meager of supplies, with whatever time they had left from a just degrading full-time job, perhaps. They took to the streets and they said, I'm here. I am worthy. Look what I can do. Look what I can say. Hear me. Let me give you some other homework. Look up street art. Look up, Google street artists who got famous eventually. Google that. Yes. Ellen Cremini Trent, safe space. Tammy Kay, safe space. Diane Antoine, safe space. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Indeed, Savart, safe space. Literally anyone in the YouTube's biggest art collab. If you are here from YouTube's biggest art collab, please go ahead in the comments, mention your channel if you will. Lily Moon Art, safe space. Margot Halleck, safe space. Sarah Burns, indeed. Debbie Walker. Get that trash bin going. Ooh, this one's got some shimmer to it. Get that trash bin going, y'all. Get it, get it, get it. Ow. I cannot get enough of these Pentel sign pens lately. I just love the bounce. Love it. Mint Gardner. Oh, safe space. Yeah, this chat should be viewable. Young Chen, safe space. I'll put the links below, but they are Pentel. So on one side it says Pentel sign pen, and then it says brush sign pen artist, but they're Pentel. Here we got some more. Steve Mitchell, Mind of Watercolor, safe space. And what I love about his channel, he's got all the traditional props. He can stand on his realistic, you know what I'm talking about? That like, a lot of times what you see, I'm making a huge generalization here, but you've got, when you hear this type of narrative, it's like more realistic artists that are, or more traditional material use artists and so on and so forth. And you know, Steve Mitchell has got all that kind of clout. All right. But he never makes anyone feel less than. Never. In fact, little known fact, he wrote the foreword in one of my books. Was it a foreword or was it? It was something. He did something in one of my books. So I saw the Indigo Girls last night. I just thought of like a lyric in one of their most like, it was, I would say their most like commercially popular songs that they ever did, Closer to Fine. And it goes a little something like this. I'm trying to tell you something about my life. Help me, give me insight between black and white. And the best thing you ever done for me is to help me take my life as seriously. 'Cause it's only life after all. Right? And so I think we're coming out of an era where art was just taken a little bit too seriously. Just a little bit too seriously. And seriously in the sense that drawing these lines of distinction that really are unmeasurable and don't exist. So I hope the best thing I've ever done for you is to help take these negative voices a little less seriously. Because it's only art after all. And it's really interesting and then it continues, I went to the doctor, I went to the mountain. And it goes on about doing all the things. Drank from the fountain, went to the mountains, went to the doctor. Later on in the lyrics, went to the Bible. And they did all these things to get closer. Closer I am to find. But what gets you closer to find? Love, inclusion, pushing away shame imposed on yourself or by others. That's how you get closer to find. Not by a piece of paper from a college, not by, from a roster of exhibits. You get closer to find by doing, living experience. Blast that song today. And if they have a YouTube channel, can somebody tag Indigo Girls and let them so they know? I would be so cool to get a shout out from them because I'm that much of a dork. Sorry, these bugs trying to go up my nose again. So friends, go paint your trash bin. Get it up on your wall. And remember my words. Remember the words of friends that you've made in the comment section today. And build yourself a loving, breathable wall of protection around your heart whenever you hear the junk. I'm here for y'all. I love what you're doing. And you will always have a safe space with me. And so many others here on the tubes and all the places. So go get your joy. Go get your happy painting.